Now we are going to do in the verbs both transitive and intransitive. I want you to look carefully. Most verbs can be used as transitive and intransitive. And that's what we're going to see. Most verbs can be used as transitive and intransitive. Okay? All what we need to remember is most. Most verbs can be used as transitive and intransitive. Transitive and intransitive verbs, okay? Now, the girls, first I'll write all the sentence for you. Look carefully. The girls ran a race. The boy eats ice cream. Ram flies kites. She speaks English. The author writes books. Here we have transitive. Now, let's look at the verbs, intransitive verbs in these sentences. The girls ran. The boy eats. Ram flies. She speaks. Author writes. Now we will look at how the same verbs are used as intransitive too. So when you do both together, you'll understand better. Okay, let's look at the first one. A. The girls ran a race. The girl runs very fast. The girl runs very fast. And the next one we have, the boy eats ice cream. The boy eats slowly. The boy eats slowly. Ram flies kites. An aeroplane flies. An aeroplane flies. She speaks well. She speaks well. He writes. He writes very fast. Here, in transitive verbs, we learned that it needs an object to complete, to make sense. The subject, girl, she needs an object to complete the verb ran. So she ran a race. The subject, the boy, needs an object, ice cream. He eats an ice cream. Object, ice cream, to complete that act. Ram, the subject, he flies something. To complete the sentence, you need kites. The subject here, she, the transitive verb needs an object, English, what to say, what she speaks. The author writes. In the transitive verb, the author writes what? He writes something. He writes book. So, objects, race, ice cream, kites, English book, all these helps the transitive verb ran, eats, flies, speaks and writes. Now, what we are looking at is most verbs can be used as transitive and intransitive. Now, let's look at the same verbs, how it is used in intransitive, ran. We said the word ran. Look at the intransitive verb, how the same word ran is used. Now, the girl runs very fast. There is no object there. The girl runs. That's an intransitive verb. Here, the boy eats an ice cream. There, the boy eats slowly. The boy eats fast. Eats. The same verb is used in intransitive verb. Now here, Ram flies kite. We need an object here. It simply says airplane flies. It simply says airplane flies. It can fly high, low, whatever. The girl speaks. Here, she speaks well or she speaks badly. Speaks is used. Here, author writes. Here, he writes well, he writes fast, he scribbles, he writes badly, whatever, writes. Now, in both these, what we are looking here is the verb, most of these verbs can be used as transitive and intransitive. All we need to remember in intransitive, it needs an object to complete the sentence. But when you look at both, here, when we look at speaks, he speaks in English, here, speaks well. So, what we are learning in this exercise is verbs can be used as transitive or intransitive. Remember, intransitive, when you say transitive, object is needed. Without an object, the subject cannot make complete sense. We need to understand that a verb can be used as transitive or intransitive. We will do another set of sentences for us to understand better. The boy flies kite. The boy fly kites. He runs a hostel. Peter opens the shop. At 8. writes books. He writes books. The driver stopped the train. The driver stops or stopped. Driver stopped the train. The horse drew the cart. The cart. And finally, the mouse. The mouse stole food. Stole food. Now I'll write the intransitive and then we look at the verb, how it's used in both transitive and intransitive. Okay? First, birds fly. Birds fly in the air. He runs fast. School opens at 9 o'clock. He writes legibly. He writes legibly. We opened. We stopped there. We stopped. We stopped there a little. There a little. He drew near me. He drew near me. The mouse stole. The mouse stole into its hole. Into its hole. Now, in both transitive and intransitive, let's look at the verbs, how the verbs are being used. What did we say? Most verbs can be used as transitive and intransitive. All we need to remember, in the transitive, the subject needs an object, but here they will not be. Now, look at that. The boy flies. The boys fly kites. Okay? The boys fly kites. Boys. What do they fly? They're flying something. So, to complete your subject needs, the boys need an object, that's a kite. Boys fly, they're flying something. That's okay by itself. But in the transitive, we need an object. Boys fly kites. He runs. In the transitive, we need an object. He runs what? He runs a hostel for boys or girls. Peter opens. What? Opens the shop. Object shop. He writes. What does he write? Subject needs an object. He writes books. The driver stopped. The driver stopped what? The train or bus or car. The horse drew the cart. The mouse stole food. So, he runs. The Peter opens the shop. He rides. The driver stopped. The horse drew. The mouse told. These transitive verbs fly, runs, opens, rides, stopped, grew, and stole. So we are looking at how these same verbs can be used as intransitive. Let's look at that. Fly. Birds fly. Can be in the air, off the air, over the cloud, whatever. Okay? It does not need an object. Birds fly in the air. He runs fast. And here what do we have? He runs a hotel or hostel or whatever it is. School opens. He writes legibly, scribbly, neatly, badly. We stopped. He drew. The mouse told. Now, what we are looking at is all verbs can be, or rather most verbs can be used as transitive or intransitive. In the transitive, all we need to know is the subject needs an object to complete the sentence. To complete it needs the action, the subject is doing an action. Verb is a doing word, action. The action passes on to an object to complete, to make sense. The boys doing an action. The boys fly. What are they flying? The boys fly. From the subject, the verb passes on to the object, the action done. What action? Kite. He runs. He, the subject. What is the action? Runs. Running what? Hostel, hotel, whatever. Peter opens. It's not complete. So, the subject passes on the verb, the action to what? Opens the shop, opens the window, open whatever. He writes. The subject he, the verb writes. It completes the sense by the object books. You write books. So, all you need to remember in transitive, there should be an object. But in intransitive, it completes, it makes sense by itself. When you say, he stopped, he writes. It's used in the sentence, the same verbs are used. But when it is being used, remember in the transitive, you got to have an object. We'll do one more exercise to know how verbs can be used as transitive and as well as intransitive. She runs a hotel. The ox cart he writes novels. Ram flies. She speaks. The girls here he runs fast. He drew near me. He writes well. An airplane flies. She speaks well. Speaks well. The girls run fast. Okay, now just look at here. Look at all these sentences. We are talking about most verbs can be used as transitive and intransitive. Here you have she runs. She runs a hotel. He runs fast. The ox drew a cart. He drew near me. Here he writes. He writes novel. Here you say he writes well. Airplane, ram flies, airplane. An airplane flies. Here in transitive you say she speaks. Hindi, she speaks well. Here the girls ran a race, the girls run. The girls run fast. Now, what we are talking is verbs can be used as transitive and intransitive. Here, intransitive, we are looking at is the verbs run, drew, writes, flies, speaks and ran. They need an object. What are the objects? Hotel, cart, novels, airplane, Hindi, race. All these are objects for completing these verbs. So the subject needs an object to complete the action done. So he runs a hotel, the ox drew a cart, he writes novels, Ram flies airplane, she speaks Hindi, and the girl run a race. So it's very, very clear. In transitive verb, it needs an object. Always remember that. Now, let's look at the intransitive. Same verbs are used as intransitive. He runs fast. He drew near me. He writes well or he writes badly. Airplane flies. She speaks well. Girls run fast. So, we have learned the usage of verbs either as transitive or intransitive. A verb is an action word. There are two kinds of verb, that is transitive verb and intransitive verb. We've been looking at verbs, the two different kinds of verbs, transitive, intransitive verbs, and we learned the usage. The verbs can be used as transitive verb or intransitive. Now we go into another part of the verb, verbs of incomplete predication. Now, when you talk about verbs of incomplete predication, we mean words that do not make complete sense but require some word or words after them. Words that do not make complete sense but need word or words after them. For this purpose, we call these verbs verbs of incomplete predication. So we are doing the third part, verbs of incomplete predication. Verbs of incomplete predication. To understand the verbs of incomplete predication, we need to do some sentences, some exercise for us to understand better. Okay. Now I said verbs that do not make complete sense, but it needs word or words. One word or more words often for this purpose. So the word or words or phrase is called the complement. The word that you're going to use or the phrase that you're going to use, we call it the complement of the word. Okay. Complement is that which completes the predicate. We are talking about incomplete predication. Now we'll do some sentences like, say, birds fly. When you say birds fly, birds fly. Or we say boys run, boys run. Then we say mango, she sings, she sings. Or we say mango tastes, mango tastes sweet. Now, I've got 4 sentences here. Boys run, birds fly, she sings, mango tastes sweet. Now, we look at the verbs here. Let's say the verbs are here, the verbs are birds fly, boys run, she sings, and mango tastes. Look at the 4 verbs that we have. Okay, now, so we say taste, sings, run, fly. These verbs, they are all intransitive verbs that we learned. So in this case, the verbs are intransitive. They do not make complete sense and it needs word or words to complete the sense. Hence, these verbs, fly, run, sings and taste, we say these verb is a verb of incomplete predication. These verbs fly and run and sing and taste, they need more words. So it is incomplete. They need more words. Why? Because it doesn't make complete sense. So in this case, it is an intransitive verb. Now we say in the verb of incomplete predication, since this sentence is not complete, we say verb of incomplete predication. Okay. Now, when we say, now in this case, mango tastes sweet. Okay. Mango tastes sweet. The verb taste here is called the complement of the verb. Now, in this case, Ahmed is a good singer. Honey tastes sweet. Or he appears tired. In all these, words are required to complete and therefore we call verbs of incomplete predication. Let's look at these sentences. Okay? B. Mr. Ahmed Ahmed is a good singer. A good singer. The next we have honey tastes sweet. And here we have he appears tired. Okay, here what are those words? Mango tastes. Ahmed is a good singer. A good singer. Honey tastes sweet. He appears tired. Now look at this word. Now, here, a good singer, sweet and tired. What is happening to this? A good singer, sweet and tired are words required to complete sense, to make the complete sense, and therefore we call these verbs, these sentences, we say verbs of incomplete predication. Okay, verbs of incomplete predication. Now, I'll give you more sentences. Now, a dog is an animal. A dog is an animal. Then we have the man seemed tired. The man seemed tired. The man seemed tired. She became sad. She became sad. The thief lives in fear. The thief, what did he do? The thief always lives in fear. Let's look at these sentences here. We have a dog is what? An animal. The man seemed tired. She became very sad. And what about the thief? What does he do? He always lives. Lives in what? Lives in fear. Now, these sentences, Ahmad is a good singer, honey tastes sweet, appears tired, dog is an animal. Here the man seemed tired, she became sad. The thief always lives in what? Fear. So we say the words good singer, sweet, tired, all these words that help to complete the sentence. Honey taste by itself is all right. He appears. Now we have added on a good singer, sweet, tired. Dog is an animal, seemed tired, became sad, lives in fear. We have added on words or a word so that the sense of the sentence is complete. And therefore, we will say these words, what we have added on to make the complete sentence. We say the verb is, taste, appear, is, seemed, and became, lives. All these are, we say, verbs of incomplete predication. So, the verbs that in this context, we say, these are verbs of incomplete predication, because unless we add some phrase or some word, the sentence doesn't complete. Okay. So, we are talking about the third part of the kind of verb is, in verb we have transitive, intransitive, and in this third one This is verbs of incomplete predication. The birds fly, boys run, she sing, mango taste. All these are actually, they are all intransitive verbs. These are. Now we are talking about incomplete. To complete the sentence, they need, in verbs of incomplete predication, you need words or phrase, now couple of words to complete the sentence. Therefore, we call such kind of sentence verbs of incomplete predication.